the remainder that of what they have kind of, to unfold here. But we got Battlegrounds for game number 1 between the two teams. What do we see? Bands coming out from Tempo Storm on Battlefield of Eternity. Team Freedom ridding Tempo Storm's favorite map, Dragonshire. Tempo's going to say, that's just fine. We'll keep it on the small maps. Go to Tomb of the Spider Queen. That's where we got game 1.
A lot of what kind of works against Team Freedom is aggression, is kind of those teams that are in your face, the smaller battlegrounds. If you give Team Freedom more room to work, they're going to excel. And I think this is an opportunity that if you do want to go into a melee assassin, if you are on the side of Tempo Storm, maybe this is the battleground. Maybe this is the team that you can kind of exploit that against instead of having it used against you. So maybe we'll kind of see that shift. Interesting start to see Tomb of the Spider Queen as our first map.
Yeah, it is an interesting one. One that normally... Man, because Team Freedom, with the passiveness that we see out of them and the intelligence typically that is gotten to the point of a fault, that I kind of feel like from them, the safety level, I go, Tomb of the Spider Queen is a tough map for them. Identifying win conditions in the mid-game have been a struggle on even some of the clearest of maps, especially a map like Tomb of the Spider Queen. I wonder if they're going to kind of crumble, but at the same time, when they're at their best, it is with that smart play, and Tomb's a map where that smart play can get you wins. I feel like Heroes Heart single-handedly on some of the creativity that we saw from them this week had gotten wins on Tomb of the Spider Queen. So I'm hoping to see, Freedom dig deep into the reserves and get that, next level shot calling, decision making, and more importantly, rotations over Tempo.
Kicking things off, Maev Medivh obviously going to be at the top of the chain here when we look at bands, but what we saw from Heroes Hearth before, especially being first pick, and you see Freedom obviously as first pick here, we saw them not ban it out and then look to pick that up for themselves. We're seeing the Genji here. Also, high contention will be Garrosh, I think, between these teams.
Does Tempo want to let them both through? If you're going to rid of one, it's almost always going to be the Medivh over the Maev. It's a bit bolder if you end up letting that Medivh through. They're taking a bit of time, at least to consider here. Maybe the Genji caught them off guard for a moment, but by no means is that crazy of a ban. And as you said, Team Freedom has shown that this is a pattern they're willing to display. For Tempo Storm, they got to be thankful sitting. I think Tempo Storm, you brought it up all last series against Team Freedom, or Team 12, excuse me, that Tempo Storm's win rate from the second position slot versus first position, far better from second. I would argue, since the Glaurung, quote-unquote kind of hero pool conundrum's been brought to light, first pick's a huge advantage for them by being able to lock in the offlane without considering the choke in the bans. Having that third pick and committing that to Glaurung's hero is going to be really advantageous. Either way, the fact that this is taking this long over what is not a surprise ban is pretty interesting here. Tempo end up committing to the Diablo. He used to sit at that rogue second ban slot. Now he's made his way all the way up to the first.
I just have a feeling that Tempo Storm, with that second pick, I'm feeling Ablaze is going to be a little bit more higher priority. Obviously Maev Medivh let through. You got to kind of pick which one you want. I'm trying to think, though. Glaurung used to play Medivh back when he was with Roll20.
Yeah.
Psalm is the Medivh player. Coincidentally, he's also the Maev player. Fan can play the Medivh, which we saw
Wasn't
before.
too pretty.
It did not work, and the synergy wasn't there either.
Yeah, it definitely was not, the greatest glance there, even not getting the Master's touch. Okay, so this is a bold, saying Medivh, Maev, you aren't going to pick both at the same time.
We're about to find out. I mean, unless they shift Glaurung over to Medivh, I don't see Tempo doing that. I don't think they can sacrifice having Psalm on the Maev and Fan on the Medivh. I feel they lack that big carry option.
I completely agree with you. And I will say that I don't think Tempo Storm is a team that is unwilling to make that risk and make that adjustment with Glaurung to move over to that and, kind of adjust otherwise. They are a very talented roster. Debatably, off of raw skill alone, some of the most talented roster that we have.
Easily.
But with the identity struggles of Tempo Storm, the death ball, kind of trying to play a bit more to the meta in one way, shape, or form, and now kind of catering towards a bit more normal play style, to get that kind of adjustment after just one loss to Team 12, to that screams a bit of fear coming out from them. They're going to commit to the Maev, not the Medivh on top of it. Freedom's got to be very thankful for that, and Tracer ends up getting paired with it. A lot of kill potential here for Tempo.
Medivh definitely appealing now. Yoda has been the Medivh player on the side of Team Freedom, Lutano on the Hanzo. So that's a natural pairing. So you got that, the Force of Will to help deal with the pulse bombs. But when you look at support, will they be willing to consider going into an Uther to try and double down on that to keep that ultimate protection and then just solidify that front line, allow Hanzo and potentially Medivh, which we would anticipate here, do their thing? But then I feel like at that point, because your wave clear is going to be a little bit less significant, maybe one of those heroes becomes Johanna, and I feel like that's been a liability of... Ooh. Stitches Tacit.
This is forcing a Medivh ban out of Tempo Storm, I feel like. No, maybe not with the Tassadar. Not with the Tassadar. Oh man, I thought for a moment if you pick that high Stitches, then it puts it in the, hey, guess what? You already let it through. You have to get this ban because you're afraid of the Stitches and the Medivh at the same time. But then Tassadar, you go, who are you going to kill, mate? You have no damage.
But chew on this one, the way Stitch is going to chew on his food. Team Freedom, the one thing that we always talk about is their lack of initiation. I mean, you got a hook. Outside of that, where's it coming from?
16 seconds of just dead air whenever that thing goes out. Reel back in, and nothing sitting on the end of that other end of that hook. Yeah, I agree. I mean, it has been, again, a part of that passiveness that started as praise, you know, with the intelligence of Freedom, but has gotten to the point of almost slow play to where it's setting them back. Tempo ban out the Uther, now wanting to deal with that.
For what it's worth, though, Hanzo plus Tassadar, very strong pairing. If you go into that Redemption build, you get more healing off of that to keep yourself alive. Also, Tracer does not do well against auto attack heroes. She hates auto attack heroes. And you look at Hanzo, you get that extra range, you finish your Redemption at level 1. Tracer's not sticking around for long anymore.
That's a good point. Tempo has a lot of kill potential within this 4-man. The Tassadar Stitches can play very, very slow. He's not going to be wanting to trade toe-to-toe into Tempo Storm or catch them on the retreat out. So does Tempo commit more to getting more kills within that, even though they got that Tassadar delay? Or do they kind of round it out and say, okay, we have enough offense here. Now we need to worry about the map, worry about that macro, and control elsewhere. It's very interesting. The Garage ban shows that Freedom is afraid of more offensiveness. Sonya gets picked up, doesn't really give a tell in any major direction there.
I feel like Malfurion with Tracers, always the natural pairing. Be surprised if we see anything other than that. But maybe they're trying to pick up their Warrior here before they decide on that, even though all the damage is already picked up by Freedom.
I mean, yeah, the fact that the support's not even locked in, that's interesting there. There goes the Malfurion to be able to hide up that last pick. This composition from Tempo is interesting from beginning to end, even that of Freedom.
I'm surprised at the Sonya pickup. It borders the hybrid Warrior assassin role, so you're still tanky.
I will say it's definitely one of the better ones for Glorong in my mind in terms of what playstyle he likes to have and the impact he likes to have in the game mixed with the necessity within the role. I think it's the closest thing to the middle ground that you could ask for. And with the recent changes and her coming in the meta, it's convenient here for Tempo.
Blaze has not been picked up. I'm looking at Sonya right now. 0 interrupts unless you're going Gorge. Uther was banned out. Uther's normally at point and click stun to take care of the Sonya Whirlwind. If Sonya can Whirlwind non-stop, you're in trouble. So I really wonder if we get some type of interrupt by way of Blaze at this point. I'm trying to think of other options that we might get. Even an Arthas at this point I'd be okay with, but that's not normally Team Freedom style. D.Va was going to be my next one, but I sure as heck wasn't going to say Ariel.
When all else fails, Team Freedom goes to the compositions that worked when they were in their prime. I don't know if I am happy or if I'm actually really scared now to see Team Freedom commit to that this early in the series.
So I think the one thing that does work is Sonya doesn't get as much strength and value if you have that defense matrix on you. D.Va, if you put that defense matrix on the hero, they do less damage. Much more difficult to get onto a Tracer, but when we look at pulse bomb targets, Tassadar can dimensional shift away. Stitch is really high health pool. D.Va, kind of a second life. Hanzo, he'll be okay. And then Crystal Aegis, post level 10. We get the draw on. That's the last hero I think I kind of anticipated there.
Well, I will say, though it may be before those last 2 picks on the side of Team Freedom, not the Warrior you would expect Cattle to pick up, I think it is the perfect adjustment, right? What is the Holy Trinity going to do? I feel like there's so much we need to explain because this is an old draft. This is really old, like almost a full year old. You have the Ariel Tassadar plus any hyper carry. Used to be Vala back in the day. Greymane could kind of do it. Hanzo's a really good replacement to be able to make that happen right now. They go around, body front walls left and right. You've got, you know, things happening in the bottom lane. Stitches D.Va combo for the teamfight capabilities. This is a Freedom classic. You know, if you've ever been a fan of this squad, I guarantee you've seen this come out from them. But it's so dated that there's a reason it's kind of falling out, right? Like, I mean, think about Warden's Cage opportunities just into Ariel alone. I mean, she can only save 1 target. Everybody's going to stay stacked and clumped, and maybe you could argue that heal on top of it is going to be the tool that they, you know, use to keep themselves alive. But for a team to go to such a non-meta strategy that is so old school for them, this fast within a series, it's either we practice it and turns out it's still really, really good, or it's, to me, a team going, we have kind of lost ourselves. We don't know what to do, and so we're going to stick to what used to make us the top of NA, or one of the top of NA.
I believe this is our second Oriole game since the changes. The last one was by LFM on Battlefield of Eternity. Either way, we are going to have Tempo Storm in the left on blue here, trying to pull this strategy out. Glaurung, obviously a big focus. He's going to be on the Sonya. Cattle, of course, will be manning that front line on the Johanna. Som, as always, playing that big-time playmaker of Maiev. Fan's going to be on the Tracer, a hero he loves to play on this battleground in particular. And then June, of course, the Broccoli King himself, going to be on Malfurion.
And in red, we're going to have Team Freedom looking to make it happen with a Ancient gear composition. The old school Stitches Diva, Collusion, repping it on that Ariel. Going to be very important for him to have huge plays throughout this game. Lutano is going to be playing our Hanzo, making sure to be that hope target. Zugrug, you know, I mean, no surprise here. He's on that Stitches. Nasmus on the Diva. And last up has got to be Yoda playing Tassadar.
I will say that if we're going to make something work, I guess this is something new to try that I'm not terribly opposed to. It does feel dated, but with the newer Ariel and we're working in Hanzo into this, maybe it's something that's kind of been undiscovered.
If we're to cross-compare to when this used to be meta versus why it isn't, without a doubt, one of the biggest, you know, kind of reasons that it came in to kind of struggle was because, number one, Twilight Dream was a very big, you know, kind of momentum tool to be able to deal with it. But the biggest thing was that Vala, you know, got the nerfs, all the supports got the nerfs across the board, and suddenly the hypercarry wasn't worth it. Vala is falling far and farther out of the meta with the hero pool, or with their health pool being as low as it is and not having enough other resources to be able to deal with that. Lutano on Hanzo, I think it's a great replacement. He's one of the only, you know, quote-unquote hypercarries that I believe to kind of still stand within that backline role in competitive heroes. It's just mainly the biggest problem I have with it is this composition. If it didn't die out before because of the nerfs of the supports, it definitely died out with the lack of draining of ammo. Its biggest thing was just dominating the mini waves. Psalm's going to be just fine here unless the Stitches hook lands. But it was dominating the mini waves, draining the front walls, and then you take the front walls. You're not going to make that happen anymore. Yeah. You're never going to make that happen within this meta.
Zugrug pathing through. He's going to be met by a whole lot of members there, getting drug around, condemned, tethered, everything under the sun. The heals. Nice melee. Fan going in for the melee recall there, taking down, giving us first blood.
Nice tether back again from Psalm. Also, I want to give a huge shout-out, though it didn't save that. Collusion had a really good detainment strike on the Cattle. That would have been, for sure, body blocks into death without a doubt. Obviously, Fan kind of sneaking his way in there on the Tracer, dropping the melee and getting the kill. Wasn't enough there. Nasmus able to drop 8 gems off in the downtime due to the kind of, you know, tussle towards that northern lane.
See a lot of pressure on there. Dimensional shift walking away. Collusion's going to sidestep the roots there, making sure he stays alive. Big AoE heals there as Collusion throws it out. You know, looking at things, obviously pro moves picked up at level 1, getting movement speed every time you take damage against the Tracer. You can move up quite a bit.
Notice how Zugrug, as well, is constantly kind of behind within these rotations. He's trying to keep up with the team, but it's just Temple Storm is dominating the wave control, and then the hooks are, you know, very slow, responsive. Not even slow and responsive, it's just that they are behind in the minion rotations, right? And they aren't going to be able to keep up with it. And again, this is my criticism towards this composition and play kind of being brought out so far here for Freedom. I do think that there's a lot more teamfight capabilities within this comp that is not died out, right? With the nerfs coming in, that's still great at teamfighting. And I do wonder if it actually Ariel is a pretty good temporary response to the Warding's Cage with the AoE healing in between. But I also go, you know, I know Detainment Strike, or excuse me, not Detainment Strike, but Aegis is not going to be one of the greatest saving tools either. We'll find out. Clump up on mid. Cattle, or excuse me, Fan goes in on Lutano, forces the Pulse Bomb and Natural Agility over the wall. Nasmus going to go into Diva form, and I don't think she's going to make it out here. Another kill for Tempo.
Well, Dred, you and I had a discussion this morning about Malfurion level 4 talents.
Yes.
We've seen a lot of vengeful roots. We've seen a lot of the extra size roots with the extra duration. One thing we haven't seen has been the Strangling Vines.
Strangling Vines.
30% healing reduction whenever you hit somebody with roots. And when you're talking about Crystal Aegis, you create a stationary target. Normally you're trying to hit that heal before, but if it's a save panic button, you're also trying to hit that heal directly after. That's one way to use it. There are multiple ways, as we just saw in that choke point, getting the roots down. At healing reduction, and you're trying to get that with Collusion, potentially A lot of value.
Warden's Cage comes in, wraps everybody together, put it in the Strangling Vines, and then it's done. You know, every Alex Straza game we've seen so far, I've wanted to be like, I don't know why we don't see more, you know, Strangling Vines in an attempt to kind of deter that AoE. But we see it here, and I feel like it's very cleverly done from Tempo Storm. I think it's going to be a huge thing to look out for in these fights. You're going to see that Aegis, and then all of a sudden one huge, what would be massive heal from the Ariel becomes a, you know, at least only 70% of that. And Ariel naturally doesn't have the highest individual single target healing. It's just because it clumps up on the AoE that her numbers become, honestly, some of the highest potential healing output in the game.
It's going to be a fun one to watch in terms of June landing that obviously very well known to be a Malfurion player here. As we see Tempo Storm push down the mid lane, stretching their lead to about a full level here. Just the Web Weaver up at the top remains, but ever so slightly, as that's going to be cleaned up here soon. See Tempo Storm on the rotation, maybe looking to feign a fight, see if they can get a pick. Fan sitting on another Pulse Bomb charge, see if he's able to pull the trigger.
Tempo has earned themselves such a significant lead over the beginning half of this map. We might be experiencing, you know, not as maybe traditional of a 2-minute Spider Queen snowball, but very much possible depending on what they do with this window. They could look for the double turn in, or they could look for, you know, sieging a 4 down. I feel like a double turn in would be the most, you know, gain them the most, but I don't know if it's going to be the most realistic. It's relying a lot of variables on the side of Team Freedom kind of break apart, mainly that they don't get a turn in. And they should be able to control, especially with Sonya on that night camp, the rotations enough. There goes the hook onto Malfurion. Tether back onto Ariel, though.
No healing available. See if we got a shield. We do not. And that's going to be Ariel going down. Level 10 picked up. So Bless Shield instantly out here. Zugrug Dread sitting on 27 gems. There's the Warden's Cage. There's the blow up. Lutano, he's not going to get out alive. And all of a sudden, that is gems all over the ground, trying to salvage what they can. Yoda steps over.
Not all the gems did end up being lost, though. There was a huge one picked up there, you know, for the members of Team Freedom. They were able to keep it alive a little bit longer there. Still 30, enough for a Web Weaver phase of their own if they would like to try and force the turn in. Tempo with this 10 advantage, they're going to nope right up to the boss, and this is now really where the march of Tempo Storm is really going to begin. I personally would like to see them take that maybe even top keep. If not, they're going to go for a Web Weaver phase, and again, that feels a little bit slower. They have such a big window. Take everything.
You can see they're keeping it on that bot lane. That's why you use Johanna, has that Iron Skin to walk away in case there is any danger. You keep an eye on the bottom turn in. You're already in position for the top. Collusion. Ooh, I got scared when he turned around there. He might have gotten caught in the roots, but steps out just in time.
Top board ends up falling. Tempo still with a, you know, 1 level advantage until Heroics are picked up for Freedom. They have enough for the turn in. And it looks like turn in now is going to be the main focus. Actually, instead going to contribute towards mid. Johanna is looking to kind of get her own turn in. I thought Tempo would make the rotation down and then try and join her, but instead get the mid port, then back in and join her. I will say this is way more offensive of a decision making and far more, you know, profitable for Tempo Storm. I'm glad to see them make this rotation, showing, you know, again, why they're sitting at the top here. They do not give up anything whatsoever, and honestly, it is pretty much the exact opposite of our criticism towards Freedom.
Level 10 almost here for Team Freedom, as you're going to see them pick up the Night Camp to try and help for defense. They will have the Diva's mech to explode. Also, Tassadar, we saw just moments ago, was able to complete his Psystorm quest. It's a 2-part quest, so he gets the extra damage and the extra size. So they have tools to defend against these early waves, but as you can see, as it pushes with the Siege Giant behind it, might be a bit more difficult, as that's the only fort still standing, might be a priority focus.
Tempo recollect themselves in mid. Garen's going to remain in that bottom lane. Get the trade out into Diva. Now both making the rotation up towards mid. This is a lot of siege pressure. Once this Web Weaver kind of deals with these Knights up on mid, Tempo Storm is going to have a colossal advantage here. That bottom Web Weaver is just fine with those Giants, and it's going to be probably a double keep from wall, maybe even a full keep if Freedom ends up overextending a little bit too far.
Hanzo's still trying to make sure and complete his redemption, so he's missing out on a significant amount of his damage here. As you can see, they're trying to clean it up as Team Freedom. Again, that Diva mech explosion is available if they need it. As you said, the bottom Web Weaver still pushing, but Tempo might just reaffirm their focus here towards that mid lane.
There's the Mecha Explosion, going to be used as a, you know, kind of anti-Web Weaver phase here, if you will, on the bottom half. 68 gems in the hands of Team Freedom, more than enough to claim the next turn-in if they would like, but 3 levels down and nowhere near that 13 talent tier, Tempo would very, probably convincingly get the 16 spike and a Web Weaver phase, let's be real here, before you even hit the 13. So Freedom's got a lot of questions to kind of answer here, and sadly every question is real tough.
Not an easy answer. Team Freedom, obviously, they're going to have to push the lanes out. They're going to have to try and get a turn in. This is one of those situations where even if you turn in now, by the time that Web Weaver phase is over, you'll have enough for a second turn in. If you can push those lanes out, it's not just about getting value out of the first one. That value is going to come in terms of map control. Getting the lanes pushed out, evening things up so you have more control. If you look at the mini-map, you can see how far back positioned Team Freedom is in almost every single lane. This is actually really smart. If you don't want to send experience over to your teammate or to your enemies, just body soak. This is one of those things that it's very rare to see from teams that if you step out trying to clear those, you're just going to be denied XP.
Yeah, it is actually a really good play here from Team Freedom. But I'm going to raise a counterpoint. Though it is cutting your losses, minimizing the amount of damage Tempo Storm can kind of unleash, you aren't doing anything to change the outcome here. Tempo is still soaking pretty well. They're still maintaining the advantage in the way that they are. Now they got the Night Camp, got to be backing this up. And then Tempo will hit a moment here where ideally I'd like to see him do it with the Night Camp. It's not going to gain them that much because the anti-siege is pretty good by the side of Team Freedom, but just use other things to gain your advantages because you are still creeping on that 16. Maybe the bottom Giants if that is within that window, and not worry so much about the traditional Web Weaver phase. There are other ways to get advantages on Tomb. They're just less clear, but when you have a 3-level lead, they become pretty easy.
Glaurung's positioning, seeing if anybody even steps close to that wall to try and get that Ancient Spear over. Everybody's going to retreat on the side of Team Freedom. There's going to be that Night Camp pushing here in the mid. 16 dangerously close for Tempo Storm. If they were afraid of that 13 talent tier, 16 talent tier, probably a little bit more fearsome.
Freedom has to force. Oh man, never mind. Tempo's going to be the one who initiate this. Blessed Shield going down after the Warden's Cage. Twilight Dream going to land onto 3. Ariel trying to make it out, but Psalm's not going to have that. Fan of Knives ends up getting that kill. Nice condemn there from Cattle, but it's not going to gain anything here. Tempo claim the middle keep and their 16 talent tiers. Freedom. We asked for answers and we didn't get much. Tempo Storm was very much the one demanding and dictating that fight. And I want to say, Psalm initiating that with the man displaying itself on the top half, that is a moment where Tempo Storm, it is very much the right call, knowing you have the upper hand, but a lot of teams go, we don't have 16s, play it safe, even without that other person. But Tempo Storm didn't hesitate a fraction of a second. 3 heroics used within under 3 seconds there.
They ran it down mid, and it worked out for them in this case, but now the problem for Team Freedom, you lost that. You're continuing to lose out in these lanes. Johanna will likely, again, defend this because all of a sudden, you're just a few gems short for another turn in if you're Tempo Storm. Boss is available if you really want to go down that route. So trying to get a turn in is incredibly difficult. It's Catapults in mid, Siege Giants in the bottom. Tempo Storm has so many options, Dread, that they can literally do almost anything that they want. One of those things is just going to come in and invade.
And a Web Weaver phase is going to back up this Night Camp. This map is legitimately just going to be anything and everything that Tempo Storm could claim for themselves. They did. Nasmus wondering if he can maybe move up, make a big play, pull over onto Johanna, not the target they're going to want. Psalm now getting the response, follow up on the Shadow. Great interrupt there is actually going to deter a Gorge opportunity onto Psalm. That was a big play from Cattle. I'm pretty sure it even put it on a soft reset.
Here we go. This could be the potential final push of the game. Again, Siege Giant still bottom lane. That will march down heavily to get this, and you can see Tempo Storm has their eye on that to try and get the second keep and potentially find enough pressure. They get 1 kill to end the game. The plays that Psalm has been making on that Maiev could potentially end it.
See if Team Freedom can hold this off. Just wait for one Shadow. You know Psalm is going to pull the trigger. There goes the Gorge. Johanna's in it. There goes the split. Warden's Cage locking down on the backside. The explosion only going to land on the Cattle, and the Iron Skin pretty much made that negligible. Collusion in the back, pretty weak. Going to have to maybe go to the Hall of Storms, but the Catapults on mid, and the Web Weaver plus the Giants on bottom. Now more Catapults are going to be enough that maybe he doesn't have the time to do that. Tempo Storm, they can ignore Team Freedom and just move up to this core after blowing up Collusion.
They're looking to blow up another target as Lutano gets blown up. Parting gift here. See you next game, because this one is almost all but over. Tempo Storm on the core. Glaurung and Cattle on the assault. I don't know if they've got enough punch just yet.
Yeah, it's going to be a slow whittle away, but I think they have more than enough damage,
now
especially confirming the kill there onto Zugrug. 70% and counting. Tempo Storm, 10-0 in kills, just at about the 14-minute mark. Claim 2 of the Spider Queens for themselves. Very dominant opening here from North America's finest.
That's kind of the Tempo Storm we hope to see most of the time. Team Freedom, however, Again, the passivity dread.
I blame that on comp, and I brought up my concerns right at the gates, right? When it comes to the composition and everything, like, I'm just going to wait till I see Draft 2, because if we see the same pattern and thought process, I go Team Freedom was not confident when this series started, and they're scrambling. They're trying to find something.
I see Hanzo, Tassadar, and then the minute I see Stitches, I know it's a passive comp. It is a very passive comp, and you are looking for opportunities that are going to be hard to find. Johanna, Iron Skin, Maev, quite a few escapes. We saw the Gorge onto that. Embrace the, oh, you want to pull me in? Well, I'll throw down a Warden's Cage and we'll try and get the fight here. 10 kills to 0 at the end of that. Obviously, I think you can just, I don't even know what to make of it. It was just,
it wasn't all
town.
It wasn't all passiveness, right? It very much was Tempo Storm doing, a lot of things. The Tempo Storm is by far the best at understanding what advantages they can take and, cannot take. And it, again, is, I would argue, the main source as to why they stand where they stand within our North American rankings. But Psalm's initiation on mid, for me, was the real breaking point for Tempo Storm when you could look at the thought process and mentality for them, not only for the series, but just how much they were willing to take and how little they were letting their opponents to kind of sit around and just be like, can we defend this? Will you let us defend this? Tempo Storm was like, no, we are not. You show anybody else on the map. Why would I even care if I don't have the 16s? I'm going to take it. That is not something we see from North American teams. And that one specifically, I feel like is even next level for Tempo Storm. It made me very, very excited to see what we have kind of unfold